starting up a plant that from its inception was built poorly. The company itself sued all of its suppliers because of the poor materials that were put into the plant. There's been 50 years of management issues that have gone on with this plant. The plant itself is over 50 years old. And there was Justin, maybe you worded it a little bit oddly, but you said that Holtec is not bringing an updated safety analysis report, final safety analysis. They're not being required to by you. And on your slide, you stated that you're going to use revision 35 of the UFSAR. And Justin went on to explain to me again, quite relaxedly, that, well, this was the revision that was in place in 2002 when the plant closed under emergency situations. But a UFSAR is originally the design of the plant. It is the basics of that plant. And occasionally there are updates to that plant. But what we're discussing here, and it's not even being required by Holtec, Nuclear Regulatory Commission has allowed them, because of the minimal updates, to use, in effect, a design that's 55 years old. Now, most of us with our gray hair understand that we do not allow or have in our home a crib for our grandchildren, because that crib would be irresponsible of us to use. We would not put a car seat and put our grandchild into that car seat, because that car seat is brittle. It would not protect our grandchild in the event of a minor impact. In fact, it might be criminal to do this. It certainly is criminal to sell a crib like this. So I am again appealing to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to use common sense. This plant closed. This is an undue safety risk to even consider reopening it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for your comments. Okay, Courtney.
Just 1 second. Yeah, ma'am,
Sure.
I appreciate your comments. Just want to clarify one thing. I think you stated that the plant shut down in 2022, sorry. Just want to make sure I had the date right, under emergency conditions. That's not true. It shut down normally. Entergy stated it was for financial reasons. At the time, the NRC was assessing that the plant was in our highest column of performance in column 1, so it was not under emergency conditions.
Days before. It was going to close on May 31st. That was the expected date. It actually closed 4 days or 5 days early. No, that, Jason, hey, this is a fact. It was, in fact, we've discussed this many times with different people. Wow, a worker closed the plant. Yes, it was a situation that was considered high risk.
Thank you. Okay, Courtney, at this time, we're going to transition to individuals online who have raised their hand. Is there anyone online or on the bridge line that want to ask questions or
I'm going to let you be able to unmute your mic, and then please clearly state your name and any affiliation if applicable. You should be able to unmute your mic at this time. Sally, if you could please see if you could unmute your mic. All right, Sally, I will add you to the list and we can go back to you and see if perhaps, if calling in might help as well. Let me go to the next person on the list, who I believe was, sorry. It looks to be a number with area code 734 and ending in 41. I am going to let me see if I can allow you to unmute your mic. Again, that was area code 734 ending in 441. You may have to press *6 to unmute. Seven three. Yes, we can hear you now.
Hello, this is Michael Keegan with Don't Waste Michigan. Sat through a lot of these, and it's always that Palisades is special. What's special about Palisades? Where do we begin? Anyway, the plant did shut down early on May 20th, not as it was planned, and they also had a pretty big tritium leak of 845,000 picocuries per liter. And there's piping problems and buried pipe problems. But I sat in on a hearing February 12th. It was a pre-hearing. And at that pre-hearing, the ASLB Holtex Council agreed that NRC Inspection Manual Chapter 2562, entitled Light Water Reactor Inspection Program for Restart Reactor Facilities Following Permanent Cessation of the Power Operations, fully governs the restart at Palisades, claiming it addresses all key issues, the design basis, operational, readiness, and quality assurance. And that challenges beyond this are not admissible. But the NRC Office of General Counsel rebutted this testimony and disagreed. That was Michael Spencer, stating that the inspection manual 2562 is an inspection and oversight tool only, not comprehensive licensing guidance, and that licensing only included to support inspection content. Can the NRC Restart the panel confirm that this is following the General Counsel's interpretation?
You've got 10 seconds remaining.
Okay, all right. So, has this been reviewed by General Counsel? Because the testimony of Michael Spencer says that it's not. And early on in the presentation, I heard January 21,
Your 2
NRC
minutes are up.
regulation allows restart. So could you please address that? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So we're not going to be able to comment on any proceedings in front of the licensing board, but what I can do is talk to you about Inspection Manual 2562. So Inspection Manual Chapter 2562 was a document that was designed to give internal guidance for the oversight of the Palisades restart. It is not a document that governs the licensing actions. The licensing actions are governed by our regulations. So I think that was the genesis of your question. The manual chapter is a document that governs the oversight of the restart of Palisades. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to clarify one thing here, Sophie. So to clarify what Jason was stating earlier and to address the comment about the shutdown in 2022, the plant was shut down because there was some leakage from a seal on the control rod drive mechanism. This was not an emergency situation. So we define an emergency very specifically in our regulations about what constitutes things that individuals would have to take specific actions for. The plant did elect to shut down when leakage reached a certain level. This then prompted them to go into the decommissioning state at that point in time. However, this was not an emergency situation. There was no individuals that were at risk during this portion of time.
Thanks, April. Courtney, do you want to try Sally again?
Yep, just let me see, Sally. I'm going to move you so that you can, Sally, if you could please see if you can unmute your mic, and then you'll have 2 minutes. I saw you unmute briefly, Sally, if you want to try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Sally.
Oh,
You got
thank
2 minutes.
you. Thank you for allowing me to be heard. In referencing my questions, I want to refer to the manual that was already referred to, IMC 2562, section 6.04. The manual indicates that the NRC inspections should include the resolution of open or deferred items not previously completed due to plant shutdown. In addition, section 6.02E requires the status documentation of all restart related issues, including those the NRC and any regional office believes need resolution before a plant can return to operational status. Given these manual guidelines, it is significant to note that in 2019, the NRC did grant Entergy's request to defer required post-Fukushima seismic hazard reevaluation work until after the planned permanent shutdown of Palisades. Now that Holtec is seeking to return the plant to operation, these deferred commitments appear to be unresolved safety issues. All of this leads me to ask the following. Is there a comprehensive list of all the unresolved or deferred licensing actions and commitments, including those made by Entergy before the May 2022 shutdown? Given that there is, where can I find this information? Is it publicly available in Adams or where? I also want to know if the list specifically includes the deferred post-Fukushima seismic hazard reevaluation work Entergy was previously obligated to complete. Given there are specifics, what is the NRC's current plan and timeline for ensuring these deferred seismic safety actions are completed prior to approving restart? I could also add, if not, why not, to the questions above, but what I ultimately want is for the
10 seconds
NRC,
left, Sally.
how it will transparently track and disclose the resolution of such items consistent with the requirements and public communication principles laid out in IMC 2562. Thanks for your time.
So you referred to manual chapter 2562, and I think you referred to the open items list. Again, that document is for the oversight of the restart and not for the licensing activities. So that would be an internal list that we would create that we want to track for oversight of Palisades.
Yeah, and so to specifically discuss some of the items that might be on that list, items that were deferred or, delayed basically because of the shutdown in 2022, right? So those are things that the inspectors are actively reviewing at this point in time. As I was describing the system return of service plan specifically, any maintenance activities, any licensing requests or deferrals, right, that are related to those systems or those functions, or even the programs such as the post-Fukushima actions, are items that we are actively reviewing at this point in time as part of our system return to service reviews and also the program reviews. So some of these things we don't have conclusions on yet, so I'm not going to discuss what those items are at this point in time, but I will say that we are actively reviewing the seismic hazard reanalysis and the licensee's plan to address that issue, as well as other items that were open during that period of time.
And as far as our documentation, if you go back, there was when we have open items at a plant, we may call them an unresolved item. We did a thorough review of that in our database. that we track. We keep the information for forever. There was one unresolved item, and it was around a calculation for their main steam line break analysis. That is actually part of the licensing bundle to address that. So that's an example of an item that was brought up as far as a deferred item that was not resolved when they went to decommissioning phase, that is being resolved as part of the restart process.
Thank you so much for your questions, Sally, and bearing with us as we try to get you back into the queue. Okay, so now we're going to go back to in-person attendees that took a ticket and indicated they wanted to speak. So while Jason was answering, I went ahead and pulled 5 tickets. So the first ticket belongs to ticket 13, Darby. The next ticket will be ticket number 1, Mr. Blend, Alan Blend. The third ticket is ticket number 11, Dave. The fourth ticket is ticket 16, Jamie. And the fifth ticket is ticket number 10, Dylan. So if we could go ahead and start with ticket number 13 for Darby.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity for public comment. I would like to say that my husband and I are strong supporters of nuclear energy and strong supporters of the reopening of Palisades. And we've been attending several of these meetings, and I thought just for curiosity's sake, it might be fun to see what ChatGPT says about the benefits of nuclear energy. So this is what came up. Several advantages, including a high energy output with a small environmental footprint, as it produces minimal greenhouse gas emissions compared to fossil fuels. Additionally, nuclear power plants operate with a high capacity factor, meaning they can produce a consistent supply of energy, unlike some of the renewable sources which depend on weather. And by the way, ChatGPT and AI require so much more energy than computer usage in the past. And with, the greater needs being coming through data centers, we're going to need, obviously, more capacity to fuel that. And then just a simple Google search that came up from Stanford EDU. The main advantage of nuclear energy is that it is relatively low cost and consistently runs on its full potential, making it the ideal source to power national grids. Another advantage is that it is clean energy that does not create air pollution or release greenhouse gases. So in this way, it is much more sustainable for the environment than fossil fuels. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments, Darby. Okay, our next commenter is ticket number 1, Mr. Blend.
Thank you. The first for Phil. You, on an earlier question, you said you couldn't respond because there was active adjudication. And I'd ask you if you could reconsider that response.
So let me just answer that. So what I meant to say was that I can't respond for what a lawyer said in the proceeding. I can't speak for a lawyer.
Okay. My question. In your presentation, you stated that to gain approval for restart, Holtec must gain NRC approval to restore the licensing basis of the plant to an operational status. That was in your presentation. However, to date, no updated operating FSAR has been made publicly available, nor have we seen a formal submittal package from Holtec that documents this restoration. In an NRC request for additional information, the staff reviewer, Marilana Dole, stated, the content of the FSAR, updated FSAR, is important to the NRC staff's review because an acceptable updated FSAR is necessary for authorizing reactor operation. Given this, can the NRC explain how it plans to sequence Holtec's completion and submittal of the updated final safety analysis report with your review and potential approval of the proposed technical specification amendment request? And will the NRC issue a formal SER, Safety Evaluation Report, on Holtec's final safety analysis report restoration to operational status, particularly given your statement that this approval is a prerequisite for restart? Thank you.
I'll take a shot at that. As I said in my slide, the staff is using, in its review of the operating license and technical specification amendment, Rev 35 as the FSAR of record for the plant, plus the changes described in the RAI responses that you referenced. This FSAR 35 is on the docket. They reference the ML number, licensee referenced the ML number in their application, and is publicly available. We did not see the need for them to resubmit Rev 35.
To gain approval to restart, Holtec must gain NRC approval to restore the licensing basis. Can you
The
expand
NRC
upon
will
that?
review and approve the license amendment request, which is modifying the technical specifications.
Technical specifications operationalizes the licensing basis. So one is not a replacement for the other one. The license, the tech spec sits on the senior reactor operator's desk, and that's how he operates the plant, and that's how he knows he's in conformance with the licensing basis. But it is not the licensing basis itself.
Correct. The tech specs are based on the design of the plant. The design of the plant is spelled out, in this case, in Rev 35 of the FSAR, the updated FSAR, as well as the REI response that they sent into the license amendment request.
So you have no plans to review the result of Holtec's updating of Rev 35 to whatever it becomes in support of the tech specs?
Well, they provided in that REI response the changes from Rev 35 till the current, what they're planning to start up with. And we're using that, again, as the basis for our review of the technical specifications.
Thank you, Mr. Blinn. Thank you, Justin. Okay, our next commenter is ticket number 11. Dave.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dave Manson. I'm the superintendent of Van Buren Intermediate School District, and I'm here tonight to express our appreciation for the partnership we've built with Holtec and the Palisades team. They've been supporters of public education and committed to our students and to the long-term future of our community. The restart of Palisades represents more than the return of energy production. For many, it's the return of opportunity. It brings high-skill, high-wage jobs that give our graduates a reason to stay, grow, and thrive in Van Buren County. Many of these careers require technical training similar to that we provide at Van Buren Tech and Van Buren ISD, rather than a traditional four-year degree. These careers can provide many students meaningful work without the burden of additional student loan debt. In addition, the reopening is also helping build a strong local economy that strengthens our schools, leads to better funding, improved resources, and expanded opportunities in Covert Township, across Van Buren ISD, and the Southwest Michigan region. Van Buren ISD looks forward to continuing our work with Holtec on long-term workforce development, aligning our educational programs with the growing needs of the energy sector and skilled trades. This is more than a restart. It's a reinvestment for our students, our schools, and the future of Van Buren County. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, Dave. Okay, our next commenter is ticket number 16, Jamie.
wouldn't otherwise hear. We've been aware of near misses, difficulties with the power plant. Really from the beginning, there have been things that have happened along the way that do cause concern, and maybe they aren't made known to everybody else. So all of these things that have been brought up that are positive are wonderful, and any community would benefit from those things, but they can happen a lot of different ways. So my question is related to it feels chaotic how this is all unfolding. So here's my question. In your presentation, you stated any work completed prior to implementation of an NRC-approved operating licensing basis must be the approved licensing, must meet the approved licensing requirements. Additionally, the NRC Office of the General Counsel, in its response to the Palisades hearing request, acknowledged that Holtec's ongoing on-site work and related NRC inspections are being conducted at risk, pending final approval of both the updated licensing basis and the technical specifications license amendment request. It appears that the number of ongoing design and modification activities could number in the thousands, covering a whole wide range of systems and components.
Jamie, you've got 5 seconds.
Thank you. Reconciling all of this work to a not yet approved licensing basis and set of technical specifications could prove extremely difficult and introduces the risk of inconsistencies or omissions that could impact safety. Given this, how does the NRC plan to sequence its inspections and evaluations of Holtec's ongoing at-risk activities with the final review and approval of the updated FSAR and technical specifications?
All right, thank you for your question. So as I was describing our inspection process, and as Justin was talking about, the licensing documents that we're reviewing along the way, right? He mentioned the transitional quality assurance plan. So the quality assurance plan, as described, is something that's required in the regulations that gives a set of standards of how work needs to be done to make sure that all safety components can perform their safety functions. That is written into that transitional quality assurance plan. That is what my inspectors are using to review the work that's going on, that's in progress right now. What that leads to then is that operational quality assurance plan. The items that are being looked at in the transitional quality assurance plan that are meeting those requirements of 10 CFR Part 50 Appendix B would be the same requirements that are in that operational quality assurance plan. So that's going to translate over into that operational phase. So while we're reviewing things right now, we're reviewing them to the standards that would be required in an operational phase. So that's how we would reconcile any of the work activities that are going on currently to what we would look for a normal operating plant. And if there are differences between those two, we would expect the licensee, Holtec, to do some kind of repair, replacement, corrective action, whatever it is that needed to be done to make sure that they meet those operational standards before they would get to that point in time where they would operate the facility.
And one, just help clarify that piece. 10 CFR Appendix B, which is the overarching regulation for quality assurance, is in full force right now at the station. It's not in the future. It's not when they go to operational state. Appendix B applies because they have a 10 CFR Part 50 license. So they are required to apply to comply with Appendix B. The reason they needed a transitional quality assurance plan is because their decommissioning quality assurance plan, which is governed by a different part of regulation, did not require as much compliance with Appendix B. They have to be full compliance with Appendix B right now. When we talk about at-risk work, what we're really describing is if there was a change in the license basis that was not expected, right? The expectation going forward, how they do their work, is they expect what they've submitted will be approved, right? That's kind of how they have to go about their business. We look at that piece, and if something came back that was different than what they submitted, they would have to go through the process to rectify that to make sure it lined up with the design basis. Our inspectors are looking at that every single day for every single activity that we're inspecting. So we have that, if you will, through line to the operational regulations as we do inspection. I hope.
Thank you, Jamie, for your comments and your question. Thank you, April and Jason. Okay, ticket number 10 belongs to Dylan.
Good evening, I'm Dylan Burnett, I'm from Hager Shore. I'm also the president and business agent for Laborers Local 355. We currently have 1,300 members. I have 80 of them, roughly 80 right now out at Palisades. Probably when we hit peak, we have well over 100. We are one of the only locals in the United States that have 2 nuclear plants, the one in Bridgman as well. We have our own training center that we moved specifically down here in St. Joe just for these 2 nuke plants. Out of our 1,300 members, we only have a handful that will meet the requirements and the standards to work at these nuke plants. Not everyone has the capability of going out here and doing this. So I don't call them construction workers, I call them nuclear workers, okay? So every single one of my members that are out there currently right now reside in either Allegan, Berrien, or Van Buren County. These are not just jobs, these are careers, and every single one of these individuals give back to the community. So I thank Holtec and I thank the NRC for coming here tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you for your comments, Dylan. Okay, Courtney, now it's time to turn it back over to you for any online or on phone line comments or questions.
Thanks, Sophie. And I just want to remind everyone that when you do raise your hand on Teams, it puts you in a queue. So if you lower your hand, it does take you out of that queue and puts you in a later spot. So please be patient with us and keep your hands raised. I see that Dave Simonelli, I apologize again, has their hand raised. So Dave, if you want to see if you can unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You've got 2 minutes.
Great. Okay, my name is Dave Simonelli. I'm a resident of Palisades Park and a board member. At the January 14, 2025 meeting between Holtec and NRC staff, Paul Klein of the NRC's Corrosion and Steam Generator branch requested that a defined service life be included in Holtec's submittal for steam generator tube sleeves. In response, Holtec's technical specification change request now states that each sleeve may remain in service for no more than 10 years of operation from the outage in which it was installed. But this appears to contrast with Holtec's previous public statements that its steam generator repair plan, which includes the use of sleeves, will ensure long-term reliability for the next 20 years. And just recently, on April 12th, a press release from Holtec noted steam generator tubes exhibiting localized indications will be sleeved. This, along with other proactive measures, is projected to extend the equipment's service life by up to 30 years. So I have 2 questions. First, can the NRC explain why it was necessary to require that a 10-year sleeve service term be explicitly included in technical specification rather than managed under a separate engineering program or an inspection schedule? And second question, Holtec plans to sleeve 949 steam generator tubes. The remaining 15,489 tubes, some of which have already been plugged, were constructed with material that is known to be susceptible to stress cracking and has been in service what appears to be well past its design service life. These tubes were exposed to the same high pressures and temperatures as the nearly 1,000 tubes that are now require sleeving.
10
Question,
seconds left, Dave.
How can the NRC assure the Palisades community, which lies within 5,000 feet of the containment vessel, that the remaining tubes won't fail when in service? From a retired civil engineer's point of view, these tubes will fail, risking multiple radioactive releases and necessitating frequent plant shutdowns, which will lead to a loss of confidence in the safety of Palisades Park. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. This is Jamie Pelton with the Division of Operating Reactor Licensing. So first I'll say the repair methodology is under review by the NRC and by technical experts within the NRC. We have our regional inspection staff that are there observing the work every day. So I'm also going to offer Paul Klein, you are online. Is there anything that you would be able to add that is not pre-decisional as part of our licensing review to Mr. Simonelli's question?
Yes, Jamie, I think I can add to that. Can you hear me clearly?
We can hear you clearly, Paul. Thank you.
Yes, Dave, this is Paul Klein from the NRC staff in Rockville, Maryland. And you did refer to a comment that I made in the pre-submittal meeting, but I think the comment that I made was a little bit different. I didn't require them during that meeting to submit a service life with the sleeves. I think I made a comment when they mentioned that the service life would be limited, that was a good idea. And the reason I made that comment is if you have a limited service life as an NRC staff reviewer, you understand that you're going to accumulate operating experience in that interim time period. And based on that operating experience, you'll reinforce that you don't have any issues with the sleeve once it's installed into the tubing. So that was the context of that communication. And I think the technical reason that they limited the service life to 10 years is related to the testing that was performed and the projected duration of the sleeve. That doesn't mean that they can't do additional longer term testing and qualify it to a longer period. So I hope that that's helpful. And then your second question related to the tubes that are either not sleeved or repaired. The question was, how can we provide assurance that those tubes will remain in service and not fail? I think the answer to that is that there's very rigorous inspection programs that are employed in steam generators across the PWR fleet, not just in Palisades. And there's a long track record of those inspection programs being able to detect flaws and take tubes out of service or repair them before they get to a point where they're challenged with respect to tube integrity. So that is the response to question 2. Hope that is helpful.
Thank you so much, Paul.
All right, I see next we have Terry A with their hand raised. Please clearly state your name and any affiliation if applicable, and you should be able to unmute your mic now. Terry Alsterda, you should be able to unmute your mic. Oh, Terry, I think you.
Is it okay now? Good.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Terry Alsterda. I'm also from the Palisades Park community since the 1950s, and am currently also on the Palisades Park Board. At the February NRC public meeting discussing Holtec sleeving license amendment request, Paul, thank you. Paul from the NRC steam generator branch stated that in addition to Holtec's proposed sleeve repairs, there would need to be a follow-up meeting to address the root cause of the steam generator's tube degradation with an emphasis on maintaining long-term steam generator tubing integrity. So I have a couple questions that I'll list out. And then number one, has that follow-up meeting been scheduled or held? And since we all share the common goal of plant safety, I'm wondering if Holtec has implemented since its June 24 results that revealed the significant degradation and increase in the number of steam generator tubes with the stress corrosion cracking. Did they implement the wet layup procedure following those results? I'm also interested in knowing whether a follow-up inspection has been scheduled or done since the June 2024 inspection. And if done, what were the results? And if not done, What are the reinspection plans, and will those results be shared? Thank you.
And thank you for your question. So I'm going to talk to the inspection portion and some of the activities that have been going on since then. So Holtec did complete a root cause analysis related to the issue that was talked about, where they were looking at the causes of why there was a larger than expected number of tubes that had indications during that first inspection period last summer. So our experts in the agency who look at structural integrity of steam generators and of other components are reviewing that root cause analysis right now. And more importantly, they're looking at the corrective actions that Holtec is taking and implementing currently to make sure that the steam generators are put in the proper conditions so that those issues would not recur. So they did take immediate corrective actions when the issue was identified last summer to ensure that the layup conditions were appropriate for the steam generators at the time. And since then, now the plant is getting back into a condition where they can start doing inspections of those tubes once again to prepare for the repair activities that were described in the license amendment request related to sleeving, and then subsequent testing after those repairs are done to ensure that they were done appropriately. So that's just kind of the sequence of those events as we're looking at them right now. We will document our review of that root cause evaluation as well as looking at the inspection activities for the steam generators. Once those activities are completed, they are ongoing right now, so those results are not yet available. And then Jamie, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything additional about meetings.
And Paul, I would just ask if there's anything you'd like to add.
I would like to add that in response to your first question, has that follow-up meeting been held with Holtec yet? The answer is no. We're waiting until they do final testing, which is scheduled to occur in the near term. And then once all their testing is completed on the steam generator tubing, our plan would be to have a phone call with them to discuss the results. And we would document any type of discussion that we had so that it would become available to the public.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Terry, for your comments and questions. Okay, so now we're going to go to 5 more people in the room. So my next numbers are ticket number 8, belonging to Brandy. The next one is ticket number 4, Tom Flynn. Ticket number 6, William. Ticket number 3, Jody Flynn. And ticket number 14, Bruce Fetzer. So ticket number 8, Brandy, you're up first. If Brandy's still with us. Oh, I don't see Brandy. All right. We're going to go to number 4, Tom Flynn.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Restart Panel for holding this meeting and Lake Michigan College for being a good host for the facility. I'd say something to the South Haven people, but they all left. But somebody should get word to them. They're not going to get any power from this restart. I think it's going, unless they buy it from the Michigan Energy Cooperative or Hoosier Energy Cooperative. So I ought to let them know. But my question really, I'd like to get clarification from the panel on the origin of the interpretation of the PR 5117 we've been referring to as the Burka denial today. The permits a licensee to return a decommissioned plant to operation under the existing regulatory framework. Specifically, did Holtec independently develop this interpretation, or did NRC staff participate in the formulating and endorsing of it prior to its use for Holtec regulatory roadmap to restart Palisades? And I guess if the answer to that is yes, I would further ask if NRC staff was involved, if there's a formal review or integral legal review process from the Office of General Counsel to validate the interpretation accurately that reflects current NRC policy. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. There is no interpretation of that. It was a clear commission decision, direction to the staff that the commission's decision was that existing regulation should govern restart of current power plants. So I know there's been some discussion around interpretation, who made that decision. The commission, the 5 commissioners, or however many there were at the time, voted on that and made that decision. So there's not been an interpretation by the panel. The panel had to work inside the decision of the commission, right? We're not policymakers. We're implementing commission policy. That's our job. So that's the first piece. And as far as engagement with our general counsel, our general counsel, again, they're not reviewing, they're not approvals. They provide us guidance on legal questions. We've had general counsel on the panel from the beginning to help us through some of these more legal questions. Nobody here is an attorney. We're all engineers. So we needed to make sure that our actions were consistent with commission policy and regulation. So we had that the entire time. I know folks who followed the hearing, Michael Spencer was our lead for quite a bit of time. We now have some new person. Anita is our legal counsel. But we've been in lockstep with OGC's guidance and advice to the panel. So in summary, there's not an interpretation of the PRM. It's a clear commission decision. We've had to operate inside of that decision and what the commission decided, didn't make policy, and we've had general counsel in lockstep with all of our actions. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jason. Okay, our next ticket is number 6, William.
Okay, great. My name is William Stark. I have a family cottage. It's within a quarter mile of the Palisades Park plant. First of all, I'd like to start out by thanking the NRC panel for all your time and effort to put this together for us. And also, I do appreciate the comments offered by many of the local municipalities and school districts in terms of the great value that this can bring to the whole area here. However, one of the things I wanted to give you before I get into my question is a little background about who I am. I'm a certified safety professional. I have over 30 years in working, doing comprehensive safety, health, and liability risk assessments for the world's 3rd largest broker. I deal with projects like this on a regular basis. Recently retired, but the concepts are still basically the same. And I know you're all concerned about risk up there sitting on that stage. But what I wanted to do was that based on some of the things that I've seen in your presentation, I have this following context for you to consider. In your presentation, you state that that NRC staff is using the existing regulatory framework referenced in the Commission's 2021 denial of petition for rulemaking, PRM 5117, that we refer to as the BRCA petition denial, to justify Holtec's proposed restart of the Palisades plant. We strongly object to this reliance. The BRCA denial was never intended to authorize reversal of 10 CFR 50.82 certifications, nor to create a regulatory pathway for restarting a decommissioned reactor. More critically, the U.S. Supreme Court's 2024 decision in Lauper Bright versus Raimondo overturned the Chevron doctrine and made clear that federal agencies like the NRC cannot expand their authority through internal interpretation. Agencies must now rely on clear statutory authority or undergo formal rulemaking. Using the BRCA denial to justify restart is, in our view, an impermissible expansion of NRC authority, absent congressional action or a new rule. Regardless of legal interpretation.
Mr. Stark, you've got 5 seconds.
Regardless of legal interpretation, the fact remains no current NRC regulation governs the restart of a decommissioned plant. Relying on the BRCA denial to fill this void undermines both the Atomic Energy Act's public participation requirements and the Administrative Procedure Act. In its response to our petition for a public hearing, NRC General Counsel Michael Spencer stated that the BRCA denial sets commission-established policy on the reauthorization of reactor operations for plants in decommissioning. Our question is this: does the NRC staff consider the BRCA denial a policy-setting action that expands the agency's authority to approve the restart of a decommissioned nuclear plant, despite the absence of any formal rulemaking or explicit statutory authority?
Thank you for your statement and your question, and I'll restate what Jason just said. So the staff takes our direction from the commission. There was a petition for rulemaking, and the commission answered that petition for rulemaking to deny the rulemaking and stated to the staff that we have the regulations in place to govern a restart. Thank you.
Thank you, William, and thank you, Phil. Okay, so my next ticket belongs to ticket number 3, Jody Flynn.
You're in a funny spot. Hi, my name is Jody Flynn. I am one of the petitioners whose petition was denied. I am unaccustomed to being in a courtroom, but I watched a team of attorneys and members of the ASLB address petitions. I was encouraged to petition and that my public participation was important. I kind of wish I had had a team of attorneys behind me. I don't really feel that my public participation was indeed important. We were basically petitioning at the NRC demand that the reopening of the power plant, the first nuclear power plant in the country, to be held up to current safety standards. Instead, if you are okay with using 1969 standards, I ask you, if you are willing to allow a company who has never run a power plant before to use standards you set over 50 years ago, were all those standards meaningless that you created? And I'm confused about the license that Holtec currently holds, that is decommissioning license, because Holtec seems to be making a lot of public statements on when they will reopen. Now, I find this very presumptuous of them. Does the NRC find Holtec's confidence dismissive of their authority? This seems like a breach of trust to the public. I am afraid you will indeed need to work harder for that trust. So do not tell me that you will not approve anything that is not safe, but demand that the Palisades Nuclear Power Plant be held to today's safety standards. And do not forget that this is the first power plant to potentially reopen, and that you will be judged for decisions you make at this monumental and critical period of time in nuclear industry's history. Take time and do it right. Holtec's in a hurry for money, but remember, you're not. You're saying you don't care about how fast it goes because you care more about safety. Thank you.
So with respect to, this is Jamie. Jody, thank you for your question and your comment. So with respect to the license that Holtec holds right now, so they hold an operating license that was amended in 2022 to put it into a decommissioning state. The amendments that are in front of us right now for review, that we will review to the safety standards to where Holtec was or where Palisades was when it was operating in 2022. We are evaluating the technical and safety requirements for those amendments. And, if we approve, those amendments will go back into place and will transition from a decommissioning to an operating state. So.
No, we're opening at this date. No, we're going to be open. Don't you darn worry about it. And that is, it's dismissive of your authority, is what I think. And do you feel that? How do you feel about Holtec making a decision that you are supposed to be making?
So, I understand your statement, and Holtec will only be allowed to restart if we make the decision to issue the licensing bundle. And we are, conducting our due diligence.
They will not. They won't unless we decide. So maybe that would be something you should do in order to not be, I think they're making fun of you.
So, just a couple things real quick. The decision is the commission's whether to issue the licensing actions or not, wholly and truly. That's it. For Holtec statements, like everybody else, has their right to communicate in which way they want. They have First Amendment rights. We're not going to address that piece. But even, when a licensing action is issued, right? Even if the licensing actions are issued, that doesn't stop our safety responsibility. The oversight program continues and continues. We have inspectors on the site every single day. We have team inspections that go. We have April as a branch chief who has oversight responsibilities. I personally have oversight responsibilities for the site, right? So we have personal accountability, like you said, to the safety responsibility on the site, as is Holtec, right? So where I understand the comment, we just want to make sure that it's clear that the decision is in front of the commission makes the decision, right? As far as the speed, things are happening at a regular pace. What Jamie's team laid out their licensing, their licensing timeline was based on normal commission licensing timelines. As Holtec does the work that complete towards restart, my team is there to inspect. It's not moving I understand 18 months seems like a short amount of time, and there is a lot going on, but it is, in our mind, from our perspective, we are not rushing at all. Now, does that mean we're going to slow everything down? If we have reason to, we will. But until that happens, we're not going to do that arbitrarily. We will look from a safety perspective, and if there's something safety-wise that we need to engage on that Holtec needs to correct, we will do that.
Safety regulations from 1969 to present, are you just dismissing those, that were those set up like they're not important? We really can just go back for 50 years and everything's going to be just great?
So I'll attempt to answer that. So each plant in the United States has a design basis and a licensing basis. That licensing basis changes over the lifetime of the plant based on licensing amendments. So Palisades the licensing basis has changed over the lifetime of the plant, and that's what we're evaluating it to their licensing basis when they shut down in 2022.
The design basis was from 1969. So you get why that's tricky for us. You get why that seems pretty darn scary, right? That just like Bill Connor was saying about a car he's working on, that he can't put in a safety airbag. I mean, if you use that as a basis, aren't you sort of dismissing some pretty big safety issues?
So let me help.
It's progress.
So let me see if I can help a little bit. So yes, their license basis was established when the plant was licensed in 1969, I believe it was. But they maintain that license, and the NRC has processes to look at that license as new information comes in, if new technologies are identified, and we look to see if there's safety benefit to modifying that license. We have a process called the backfitting process that we would look through and see, hey, do we think, we look at from a risk standpoint, I think there was a gentleman here talking about he was in the industry for risk. We look at risk very closely, numerically. We model risk. We look at the plant models risks. So we understand if there's a safety benefit to doing so, right? And so over time, I'm sure if we went back and look at Palisades license over time, it's been modified here and there for those things. So just because it was issued in 69 doesn't mean it wasn't updated. Now, what everybody's referring to is there was a point the commission decided, hey, here's this set of what we call general design criteria, right? That's a 10 CFR 50 Appendix A. And that plants from that point on had to be designed to that general design criteria. That doesn't mean that those safety theories don't exist at Palisades. They're just not called out as specifically as they would be back for the general design criteria. So we continue to review. We review when we relicense the plant, when the license was renewed. That's a very large effort. The whole design basis gets reviewed. Like we talked about with the FSAR, we do a ton of inspections to ensure their safety systems are up to speed and they're maintaining aging management. So the perspective, and I've been doing this a long time, I've had a lot of plants, I've had a lot of old plants, that one's safer than the other isn't really true. They were designed differently, right? And so they're designed differently, and you go plant to plant, those things can be very different how the plant's designed. But generally, if you look at the original concepts that the AEC, the Atomic Energy Commission, licensed plants at, and then what the general design criteria say, if you were to go do a research project to match those up, you would see it be correlated pretty closely. So I understand the plant is an old plant. We have processes for inspecting that. The licensees are required to maintain their systems. They have to come back to us for relicensing, and we do those reviews then. So hopefully that helps put the context in. So it's not like the license, we snap a line in 1969 and never look at the license again. That's not what happens. That's not how our program works, nor how our oversight works.
I apologize. We are significantly over time, and I have
We didn't
7
move on.
other people who have patiently been waiting. If we have additional time, I will circle back to the group. I apologize. My next person who's been waiting so patiently, Bruce Fetzer, please come to the mic.
Thank you. I'm Bruce Fetzer, a resident of Southwest Michigan, and I strongly support the potential reopening of Palisades. Also learning about the potential and strongly support the potential of adding 2 new small modular reactors potentially. I think these projects are really crucial to adding clean, reliable baseload energy to the electrical grid. I think that if Michigan does not address the exploding demand for electricity, it's going to face economic hardship in the future. Having reliable energy is simply part of its necessity as an entity. I think these projects represent the opportunity for Michigan to be on the world stage as well, and so as a leader in this area. I want to commend the NRC for what I heard tonight about maintaining a culture of safety. As a former chemical engineer and stomped on enough plants myself, that's no small feat. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your oversight, and I look forward to the potential restart.
Thank you, Bruce, for your comments, and I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Flynn, for your comments as well. And thank you to the panelists for your interactions. I know I don't have the number on the screen, but I actually only have one more ticket pool. So lucky ticket number 2, Cheryl, if you would, please come to the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Cheryl Preston, and I am a laborer with the Local 355. I currently work at Palisades. I have been working nuclear for the past 9 years, and prior to that, I was a commercial loan processor at a bank, and I had lost my husband a few years prior, and I was trying to make ends meet when a friend told me, "You're smart enough to do nuclear." And so I joined. I was able to put my son through college, and I'm able to do some of the stuff that I love by working nuclear. Some of the things that I love is I love to restore antique sewing machines. And when I do this, I look at them and they have good bones. And I look at Palisades, it has good bones. Just like the gentleman who restored his truck. It had good bones. But he couldn't add the safety stuff to it. We can at Palisades. You know, with a crib, would you put your baby in an old crib? Well, my oldest son worked at Palisades for 3 months. He travels nuclear as well. So yes, I'd put my baby there because I did. I have been inside Palisades watching them do these inspections, And I mean to the extent that it is unbelievable. I am even amazed. And I've done 35 outages and at 9 different nuclear plants. And I'm amazed at the requirements that the NRC is having Palisades to uphold. The safety that they require. When I was asked by my VA to come here to speak tonight, the first things that I wrote down was I wanted to write down real quickly, what does nuclear mean to me? Nuclear means safety for me, safety for the plant, and safety for the community. We are told that over and over and over again every single day with our pre-job briefs, with our walk downs, with our talks. And safety is huge. Safety is a key part of everything that we do out there. Not just for us to be safe, but for the plant to be safe. And if the plant is safe, the community is safe. Those are things that I want you guys, I know that you're sitting here and you don't want this to restart, but I'm telling you, working on the inside, it can. I'm seeing what it can do. With steam generator, I was part of a sleeping project at Beaver Valley Nuclear, and sleeving, it worked. So please stop and relook at these things and the safety that the NRC is bringing for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, Cheryl. Okay, at this time, I know there are at least 5 individuals who've been waiting patiently online. Typically, what we've been doing is 5 in person and 2 online. However, I've gone through all of the tickets that people have indicated that they wanted to speak. Before I go over to Courtney, is there anybody in the room that has not had an opportunity to speak and wishes to speak? Okay, so if it's okay with you, ma'am, I will let Courtney do 3 people online, and then I'll come back to you. Thank you so much. Courtney, please take it away.
Great, thank you, Sophie. So I see the first person is Douglas Stewart. Just give me one moment, Douglas. Please clearly state your name and any affiliation, if applicable, and you should be able to unmute your mic at this time. Again, Douglas Stewart, you should be able to unmute your mic. All right, Douglas, I will get back to you in one moment. Let's see if we can get somebody else. So the next person I have is, I just see the name Jim. So one moment, Jim. You should now be able to unmute your mic. Please clearly state your name and any affiliation if applicable. This is for the speaker who is here under the name Jim. Once again, Jim, you should be able to unmute your mic and speak.
Courtney, if I can just cut in for Douglas and Jim, if you're unable to use your computer for the audio, please feel free to call into the bridge line. That number is 301-576-2978. The phone conference ID number is 929-026-745#, and you'll have to press *5 to raise your hand. The information is also on the screen on Teams if you weren't able to hear me say the number. Sorry, Courtney, I'll hand it back over to you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, Sophie. So I'm going to go to the third person in line. If you can just bear with me one moment. All right, Kathy Barnes, you should be able to unmute your mic at this time, and please again state your name and any affiliation.
Hi, this is Kathy Barnes. I'm with Don't Waste Michigan. And I and about everybody else that I know are against nuclear energy. I also did a Google search, and these are the disadvantages of nuclear energy. Greenhouse gas emissions, fossil fuel dependency, nuclear radioactive risk and incidences, such as Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, etc. Non-renewable resource, environmental effects of mining. I don't know if you've ever seen documentaries about how the Navajo people were hurt by uranium mining. Spent fuel shortage, storage. That's a problem, continuing problem. High construction costs, terrorism threats, global competition, nuclear weapons and proliferation, cancer and infant mortality increases, etc. I don't believe I would want my children to work in nuclear energy because of the risks. One of my relatives went into a dirty nuclear plant and told me all about it. It sounded like a nightmare. And I've heard such nightmares about Palisades. A recent study that came out, it's available at radiation.org, is about infant mortality. Since Palisades has been closed, the infant mortality rate has decreased by 57.7% compared to an increase of 0.6% nationally. Now that's significant because there's no other reason why there would be such a decrease.
You've got 10 seconds left.
Okay. There's no other reason why there was such a decrease in Van Buren County in infant mortality and morbidity except that the plant closed. And this also includes low birth weights and other factors. In other words, when the plant is closed, it's healthier for people. And my question is that I wonder, now, Holtec took on decommissioning.
Kathy, your time is up.
I have a question, if you just let me ask a quick question. How much did they take out of the decommissioning fund? And are they going to restore it if they are not able to shut down and decommission a plant? Thank you.
Hi, this is Justin Poole, Division Operator, Reactor Licensing. To answer the last part of your question, well, to answer the first part, I'm not sure of the number that they've taken out, but they have submitted their decommissioning trust fund reports that they submit every year, so you could find the number in there. As far as needing to replenish the decommissioning trust fund, if that were the case, so in part 50, there is a equation that licensees will use to determine the amount of decommissioning trust fund that a plant needs to have based on age, the size of the reactor, and other factors. So that we would need that assurance from the licensee as part of our licensing transfer review that they have adequate funding in their decommissioning trust fund prior to issuing that license transfer.
Great, thank you. I'm going to try and circle back to first, Douglas Stewart. You should be able to unmute your mic. There should be a mic button either on the upper part of your screen. If you can just click that, I'll give you a few seconds to see if we can get back to you. Otherwise, as the slide shows, there is a dial-in number and how to raise your hand, and we can try to get to your question that way. So Douglas Stewart, are you able to unmute your mic? All right. I will move on. I do see that there is a call-in line, so the number starting in with area code 630. If you could unmute your phone. I believe it's ending in 326. And please let me know, is this Jim or Douglas?
Hi, this is Jim. Thank you.
Great. You've got 2 minutes then.
Okay. I'm not sure why I couldn't unmute the computer, but anyway. This is Jim Scott. I'm also a resident of Palisades Park, adjacent to the nuclear plant, legal full-time tax-paying residents of Michigan. And I know this is not the focus of the NRC, but I'm going to bring the comment up anyway for the benefit maybe of some other people in the room. You know, I spent my entire career in manufacturing, and we built products and we sold them to consumers, and we did pretty well, and we needed to make a profit in order to support our employees. You know, and the Palisades Park, or the Palisades Power Plant produces a product, energy, and the owners sell that product to energy distributors who then sell to businesses and consumers. The cost of that power that is produced by the Palisades plant is greater than their customers can or are willing to pay. In other words, they're producing a product that's not market competitive. So the state of Michigan, using our taxes, is subsidizing the power plant, Holtec, so that it can reopen. And so far, those subsidies, that at least the ones that have been announced, are in excess of $150 million. Those are our taxes that they're subsidizing this plant. And it's likely going to be more. So we should understand that, or ask the question, why should our taxpayer money go to support an old and likely obsolete and unsafe plant that was closed by Entergy a number of years ago for these same economic reasons?
Got 10 seconds left, Jim.
Frankly, I don't want my taxpayer money going to support a business that cannot produce a product that is market competitive. Thanks for allowing me to comment.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for your
Great.
comments. You know, as you stated, you know, the mission of the NRC is to ensure public health and safety. The financial, where Holtec gets the financial support is outside of our safety mission, other than evaluating that they're financially capable of running the plant. So I just wanted to restate our mission. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I do see another number called in, so I'm gonna unmute the mic real quick to see if this is Douglas. So the phone number with area code 708 and apologies, the number disappeared from my screen. The area code 708 and ending in 527, is this Douglas Stewart? You should be able to unmute your phone. Again, this is the number area code 708 ending in 527. You may have to press *6 to unmute your phone, as well as unmute it on the phone itself if it is double muted. Is this Douglas?
Okay, I'm on here. This is Douglas Stewart, finally.
Wonderful. You've got 2 minutes, Douglas.
Okay, 2 minutes. I'm going to go as fast as I can. Number one, I'm more concerned with the safety of the plant and the casks and the use of the old reactor base to power the new reactor, and also the SMRs. I don't know what the logistics are with respect to what comes first and what comes second, but I do know that the casks probably have to be rebuilt or somehow get moved out of the territory where the plant is. This is a serious concern, and I know that you guys have addressed it. I'll wait for your comments. This is all I have to offer. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we didn't fully understand what the question was. Maybe if it could be repeated, or if someone, Courtney, could summarize for us, please.
Douglas should be able, your mic should still be able to repeat the question.
I'm going to repeat the question very quickly. I'm looking for advice in terms of whether the SMRs are going to be put in place before the reactor is rebuilt, or whether the reactor is going to be rebuilt at all, number one. Number two, there are cement casks, concrete casks, that are holding spent fuel rods. We believe that the casks are deteriorating. The question is, what is the status of those casks, and whether the deterioration is something we should be concerned about? And my last question, which I think was raised just a moment ago, is the ridiculous cost per kilowatt hour coming out of this plant. This is a business question and really has nothing to do with NRC necessarily. But thank you very much for taking my questions. Thank you for your patience with me.
Hey, Douglas, thank you for your questions and for your comments. So this is Jamie Pelton. With respect to the potential small modular reactors, or the SMRs, that are being considered, that is being handled by, by a different division at our NRC headquarters office. There are a separate series of public meetings that you can participate in, and other ways to get information on that, but that is outside of the scope of this meeting. I'll turn it to April for your question on the casks.
Okay, I'm going to try to answer the question that I believe was asked about the casks, and it was about the structural integrity of the casks, if I understood correctly. So the casks are inspected on a yearly basis. We have an inspection even in decommissioning, where we have specialists who look at the structural integrity of the casks, who look at the program that the licensee maintains to ensure that the structural integrity is maintained of those casks. So those inspections have been conducted while the plant was in decommissioning. They just conducted those inspections as well for the plant just earlier this year. And then those will continue to be inspected to ensure that that structural integrity is maintained moving forward. As far as potential issues that were identified previously related to those casks, right, those issues were evaluated when they were identified and still determined to be safe in the location and situation that they are currently in.
Thank you for sticking with us, Douglas, and thank you to my panelists. Okay, so I have 3 final individuals. I'm going to take the last comment in person from my young lady here in the second row, and then we'll close it out with 2 final commenters online, Philip and Madison. So please.
Thank you so much. My name is Martha Eldridge Stark. My grandparents bought our home in Palisades Park in 1945. Prior to that, they had rented cottages in the same area. My dad was a B-17 pilot in World War II, was shot down early in the war, spent 2.5 years in German prison camp. At one point, he said it was thinking about Palisades that kept him sane, and that is why my grandparents decided to buy the cottage. You can understand why it's critically important to us. I believe you when you say you want to keep this safe. I just want to remember that we are also, in addition to properties that are so valuable to all of us, remember that we're sitting on one of the largest bodies of fresh water in the world, and there's huge potential to impact that. There's so much money involved in this, and there's so much political pressure as far as this goes. I want to know, sort of ask you a personal question. How does that political pressure affect you? Several times you've referred to the commission. I understand you have to do what the commission says, but they're under even more political pressure with tons of money involved. How do you handle that pressure, and do you feel safe? As you said, you want the workers in the Palisades plant to feel safe to report issues. How safe do you feel in reporting to the NRC, and do you think you're heard?
I'll start, and I'm sure most of us will chime in on that. When it comes to our review of these licensing actions, our oversight, I feel absolutely, completely comfortable reporting to the commission. I'm not under political pressure. What I'm asked about is, what are you doing to ensure that this is safe? That we are not getting political pressure. I feel absolutely comfortable with the reviews that are being made. We are taking the time needed to ensure that safety is first and foremost.
Yeah, I'll just emphasize, when we talked about our direction from the commission is that for policy, it's the commission sets the policy and we execute the policy.
Yeah, so as far as looking at folks who live in the community, right? And I want to acknowledge you all because I lived in this community for 7 years. I was a resident inspector at the facility. We have resident inspectors here in the audience who live with you all in the community, who work at the plant every day. The safety of the people who live in this area is paramount, and I do take it personally because I know a lot of people who live in the area, and I want those individuals to be safe, and I want them to be able to live here and enjoy the beautiful community and the lake that you all and we all talk about so much. And so for me, it is a personal thing, and it's personal for my inspectors who are here every single day, and it's personal for the people who work with me and who understand the implications of what everything is that they're doing. So I just wanted to emphasize that because I do feel a connection, and I want to make sure that that is heard.
Yeah, so one more. I grew up in Grand Rapids, so I'm from the area. My wife is also from there. We've got family up and down the western coast of Michigan. It's a special place for us as well. I'm very invested in Southwest Michigan. I'm very invested in Grand Rapids because of those family ties. But not only that, my whole career, starting 19 when I joined the Nuclear Navy, has been devoted to safety and safe operation of plants. So that's not changed at all throughout my career, through all the different positions I've had. So that is my focus. And I feel comfortable saying not only this team, but the team that works for me in Chicago has the same focus, right? That's our job. We take it very seriously. You know, we're all public service. We choose to do this. That, you know, as you talk about asking for a personal anecdote on there, that's mine. This is, we say a lot, hey, we wouldn't let this start up if it wasn't safe. It's true. It's true. We would do our job, which is to ensure that the plant is safe to operate, so your lifelong home maintains, the joy it has, and you can use, pass it on to future generations. And if we had any inkling that that wasn't going to be true, we would take the action we needed to take.
Martha, thank you, panelists. Okay, I realize that we are at 8:51, so Courtney, if we could go to, I'm sorry, Justin, did I cut you off? Okay, I'm sorry. Courtney, online, can we go to Philip and then Madison?
Just one moment. All right, Philip H., you should be able to unmute your microphone. Please clearly state your name and any affiliation if applicable, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Well, good evening. Thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate it. My name is Phil Holt, and I'm speaking quickly in 2 different capacities. First, I am a part of Generation Atomic. We are a nonprofit advocacy group that promotes the peaceful use of nuclear power to address the dual challenges of decarbonization in our current energy transition, while both also recognizing that access to abundant energy is really paramount to the ongoing advancement of human well-being. I have been asked personally by our members in both Michigan, the United States, and globally to share their pleasure to see that the NRC is acting with both due caution to protect the public and also in alignment with its mission to regulate for the benefit of society and our environment. Secondly, I am also lucky to be a property owner in Michigan, where I maintain a lovely lake cabin, which has hosted some of my most precious family memories. From this, more personal angle, we truly treasure the clean air and reliable power that the Palisades plant has provided in the past, and we look forward to seeing this pollution-free, carbon-free power event. So I really have no questions. I only want to offer thanks to the Holtec, the NRC, local governments, and the folks on this call for their support in bringing this plant back. And I'll finish by saying that I even look forward to seeing alerts on Adams regarding hearings and the possibility of new SMRs for massive development. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Anyone from the panel, I don't know if you wanted to respond. I know it was more of a comment than a question, but just in case there was anything from the panel. Otherwise, I can go to our last speaker. So one moment. All right. Madison Schroeder. Sorry, didn't turn off the alarm. You are our last speaker. If you could please clearly state your name and affiliation. If possible, your mic should be unmuted and you'll have 2 minutes.
Great, thank you so much. I'm excited and a little nervous to have the last question. My name is Madison Schroeder, and I'm also actually here on behalf of Generation Atomic in support of the Palisades Restart. I wanted to ask one question, and I understand if there might not be a clear answer to this at the moment, but I'm curious if you had any insight into how the April 9th, 2025 executive order on zero-based regulatory budgeting might affect the restart process of the Palisades Nuclear Plant, if at all. So thank you again.
Hey, Madison, thank you for your question. All of the executive orders are being evaluated by the NRC. For any specific questions on those executive orders, I would ask you to reach out to our Office of Public Affairs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madison, our final commenter. I do apologize as we have run out of time for the question and answer portion of the meeting, but thank you so much to everyone for your interest, your time, your attention, all of your personal and thoughtful comments and engagement with the panelists. If we were not able to get to you and you have questions or comments, please do send them to Palisades Restart Panel at nrc.gov. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jason to close us out for the meeting.
Just real quick, I do really appreciate everybody's attendance. I know we get a lot at the beginning, and folks ask their questions, they walk out, but folks who stuck around, we really do appreciate the opportunity to engage. I thought we had a really good dialogue. I thought there were very good questions asked. Hopefully we provided at least complete answers, if they, satisfying or not. So we tried really hard. We got a lot of feedback from a lot of the, especially folks from the park, if I can call it the park. We really crafted, we take a lot of time to prep for these sessions, and we wanted to make sure that we really got, tried to get at some of the heart of your concerns. So hopefully that came across, and we do really appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a great night. Thanks.